Well, hello, and welcome to KCIW's Curry Café. I'm Rick McNamer, producer and volunteer. Every Sunday, host Ray Gary puts together a program of guests who discuss various topics of interest to our community. As listeners, you can text in questions or comments about our discussion at 541-661-4098. Again, that's 541-661-4098. Now here's Ray to tell us about today's show.
Well, as always, we look for quite a variety of things to discuss and try to find things that people are interested in. And I think we've found one today. We have two people who are about to introduce themselves and tell you why they're here.
I'm Linda Evans. I'm an artist, a local 3 years, and I'm here just to share some wonderful things about our art and what we're planning for this summer season.
Do you have any place in town where we could see some of your artwork?
Yes, I actually have it not only here, but at the Manly Arts Center as well.
By here, you mean the studio?
In the studio, yes.
Yeah, we have our artwork proudly displayed in the conference room.
Yes.
Ray, my name is Ron Schnearson. I'm local here 4 years now. Thanks, Linda, for having me show up today and talk to you about art. I'm going to share a little about public art, some of the efforts that some folks here are putting underway, and some exciting things happening in that space.
Where did you get the idea to do something like this?
Well, I was walking my dog one day. Hopefully you've been up to Chetco Point.
Oh, yeah.
I would say that's one of the most beautiful places in Brookings.
Mm-hmm.
And
a good
walking,
place for a dog, too.
Yeah, they love it, too. Dog park up there. We went up to the point, as I was doing a few times a week, and this time it was a little different. There was a big, beautiful sculpture up there that just kind of came out of nowhere and just kind of knocked my socks off. That's the Two Rivers and the Heart of the Ocean, it's called. And I was just stunned that this thing just showed up, and it was beautiful. And it really spoke to me, and I thought, I would like to see more artwork like this caliber in our town, throughout our town. And I was so excited about it. I was telling people about it, and seeing if other people have seen it and what they thought. And I was golfing with a gentleman named Rob Decker, and he said, "Oh, that's mine." So what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that was my thing that I envisioned, and I worked with an artist, and I made that happen. And I thought he was pulling my leg, but I talked to the artist and others that were involved, and Rob Decker made that happen, and the artist Lee Proctor created this beautiful sculpture, and that's how this thing kind of all started. So I started investigating, how do you make public art happen? And through what I found through different sources was I really need to put together a committee on public art. This can't be one person. This needs to be a committee or a team of people bringing different things to the table. And so I went to the city council and shared what I thought was a brilliant idea. They should put together a committee on public art. And they loved the idea, but quickly educated me on the fact that if you want to see something like that done, like a lot of things, you have to do it yourself. And, they're all volunteers, and they have a lot going on. So that's when I realized, okay, I've got to figure out how to make this happen and kind of run it. So I just started putting a team of people together, diverse people. And right now we have really a great team of people. We have Mary Stanford, who used to be the president of the Manly. So we have kind of the artist community represented there. And Michelle Boubert, who runs the Chamber of Commerce for Curry County. So we have some business representation at the table. Stacy Gunderson, who she is with the Oregon Coast Visitors Association. So she really knows about the different state agencies and how to really address the needs of tourists and the state and different funding opportunities there. And I needed someone from the city because, they're going to end up taking care of these sculptures and different artworks. And there's going to be things like, receiving this sculpture and installing it and maintaining it. So I went back to the city council and gave them an update a few months later. And this all started like a year ago. A few months later, I had to kind of wait for our new city manager to get on board to really keep moving forward. And once I did, he put his hand up and said, well, I'll join the committee and, put me down.
That's huge.
Yes, that is huge. So we have a really good cross-section of people. And, I consider myself the committee chair, but really it's taking the whole group to make this happen.
Well, if I may, Ron, I just posted a few days ago about that sculpture. And if you haven't hiked up to that you're right, it's probably the most beautiful site in this whole area. Such a panoramic view of the ocean, and you can look back in the town against the coast. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Now, here's my remembrances, if you will, because I'm a walker, but I like a little flatter places sometimes. That one hike up to the to the top.
It's uphill.
It's a little uphill. But so my granddaughters were here one time. I can't remember the time span, but a year and a half or so ago. And that's the first time that I ever saw that sculpture also. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, this thing is really, really beautiful, really cool. Now, talking to some other people in town, there were some people that really weren't happy with it, which kind of surprised me. But, art is, what do they say, the eye of the beholder. I thought it was beautiful. And at the time, and so do my granddaughters, it was just a wonderful experience. I thought it fit that scene. Well, at the time, I don't think that the plaque was there explaining what that picture was. There is one now, and I just posted that on Facebook a few days ago and telling people, boy, this is just an amazing piece of art. And what does everybody else think? My friends and family from down below, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So I have to have just a little background. How did he get that all that stuff up there? Did they have to close that trail for a while?
I'm not sure if they closed the trail or not, but they did end up, my first attempt at really understanding how to make public art happen was, calling the artist, Lee Proctor, who lives in Montana, and talking to him about, how they did this. And, it was kind of like they really were kind of like tripping around town trying to figure out, who to talk to and where it should go and how to make this happen. And they, really struggled. And then they came across Jay Troust, who was with the Parks and Recreation, I believe, or Public Works. And he kind of was their champion.
Okay.
And so he was using the city resources to, build a concrete slab and to, actually move the thing and get it up there and use some heavy equipment. But I will say, the thing about art, it's, very subjective. And not everyone's going to feel the same way about something. And some people may not like it and it might grow on them and they might have a different perspective over time. But I think what's key with public art is to do what I'm doing right now. And that is to let people know that it's coming and give them an opportunity to be part of it and have some input. Because this isn't for me, it's for all of us.
You bet.
This is for the whole town of Brookings.
You bet.
And so I want to start sharing, some insight and a little bit of history and what the intention is, what our goals are, and give people an opportunity to participate, whether it's through, small financial donation or otherwise, but just to kind of, be part of it and have some ownership of this, because we're all going to own this in the end.
So are you kind of focused on one thing, on some kind type of a statue or something?
Well, yeah, it's easy to get overwhelmed, because we'd really, if it were up to me, I'd wave a wand and we'd have all this artwork all over the place. This is really a long-term goal, and it's going to be one piece at a time. So it was important to us, first of all, to come up with a mission statement, an overall theme, but then select, one location and really define the objective for that one location. So we did that, and our first location that we're focused on is right on the 101 and North Bank, where the garden is right now. The Garden Club has been there for like 40 years,
Right.
working on that garden. So we're working with them and defining a very specific space. So in the end, what's going to happen when you're driving north over the bridge and you know, what's in focus visually is that corner where the garden is, and that's where our first sculpture is going to be.
And that's great because that's already an eye catcher, I think, as you're coming into town from the south.
Yeah, it's a beautiful garden. They've done a great job, very ornamental garden.
So you mentioned earlier before we were on that you have some funding. Is this going to be something that the public can contribute to financially? Or?
Yeah, so I set up a GoFundMe page, so you can go to the GoFundMe website and just search on Brookings Public Art, and you will find our website, or our GoFundMe page, I should say. And people can donate, $5 or $10 or as much as they'd like, just to have like some little part of it. Every little bit helps. We have some funding already through the GoFundMe page, but we're also, so fortunate to have our city manager on this committee and supportive, and the whole city council is very supportive. Phoebe Pareda is really like our champion on the inside, but the whole city council and the mayor are very supportive, and they've directed the city manager to seek grants to get funding for this. So we have a goal. We're trying to get a rather large goal of $100,000 for this one piece, so we can have a really substantial, impactful sculpture that is really like the introduction of Brookings as you're driving into town.
Wow.
You qualify for a 501c?
The city does that. I don't know the details of 501c's and what's tax deductible.
I don't know the details either. Basically, it's deductible if you give them.
Right, but if you do the GoFundMe, that is not tax deductible. We're not doing it because that takes a lot of overhead. It really takes like a full-time person to administer all that. So these are smaller donations, but the grants, that will be kind of the bulk of it. And the city does have a full-time grant writer, Wendy Giordano, who we're very fortunate to have in this town. She does amazing work and gets a lot of grants for different things in the town. So that's really beneficial for us.
How about donating through Manly Art?
We talked to them about it and kind of being doing kind of a partnership and being our 501c. It's like a sponsorship, fiscal sponsor.
Right.
But they're already kind of tied up with their own objectives, and they have their plates full. So at this time we're not going to do that. But this is a long-term effort, and we'll go back to them and others in town that could also be a 501c sponsor for us, in the future. But for now, for this first piece, the GoFundMe is not tax deductible, and we're going for the grants.
Now, Ron, do you have people already lined up to help construct this idea of the school? And I was going to ask, is Linda part of that, our resident artist? Possibly.
Not yet, but I'm getting a lot of ideas as we're sitting here and discussing
that's wonderful.
this.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
And we talked earlier before the show how we already live in one of the most beautiful areas of the country, in my opinion.
We do.
So, how perfect to even enhance it with public art from local people. It's mostly going to be all local people.
So basically, the process is this. We pick one location at a time and create a set of objectives. What is it we're trying to do in this space? The feeling that we're trying to give people, an impression we want them to walk away with. Is this something we want them to pull over and take selfies in front of, or is this something that is interactive? So once that's done, then we create what's called a call to artists. and we need a budget. Once we have a defined budget for that particular piece, we create that call to artists and we post it. There's different websites that artists that create these larger, substantial pieces are part of, and they'll be notified if someone is posting something. And then we'll get bids back.
Okay.
And with those, there'll be concepts, drawings of what they would provide. And once we have several of those, our committee will get together and kind of filter out those that don't make sense for us or we know aren't going to work or not really what we're looking for, and we'll have some subset of concepts. What we'd like to do, again, to get more people involved is we will have a subcommittee of artists in the local community that will then review these concepts, and we'd love to have Linda, be part of this, and have kind of a short list of maybe a first, second, third choice. We want to give local artists definitely some preference. So if there are local artists that bid on this and have a concept, we're hoping that their concept, could work for us. We'd love to have a local artist, but we're going to cast a pretty broad net.
Okay.
And once we have this short list of, let's say, 3 different concepts, that will go back to the city council. They are coming up with the funding, so they will have to have the last say.
They have the final approval.
Right.
If you will.
And so what I'd like to do is present to them, here is our first, second, and third choice. You make the call.
Okay.
And hopefully their first choice is our first choice. But they would have the last say.
Okay.
So are you going to limit this to Oregon? You said wide.
No,
But
at this time I'm thinking it would be nationwide. There's no reason to limit it, but that's to be determined. But I think it makes sense to to better serve our end goal is why not make it available nationwide. The artist would then have to have it shipped here. That would be part of the bid. And once it's received, that's where the city again comes in to receive it. Public Works would be building a platform for it, installing it, bolting it down, and maintaining it.
Wow.
Oh, this sounds kind of exciting.
Well, it sounds very
You like,
exciting. Overall, this community, I shouldn't say how would you rate it. I think it's a pretty artistic community. I'm not an artist, but there's various shops, galleries throughout here. I'm just wondering if, I don't know this, the local high school or even, I don't know, junior high, do they have an arts program for the students right now, or do we know?
They do.
They do. That's
Yes, they do.
wonderful because I think that's still important. I see it going away in a lot of places, and I just think it's important.
I think when you live here and you're engaged in the community, you can kind of get a sense of who we are, kind of a Brookings identity.
Yeah.
But if you're just visiting or passing through, not so much. I think our downtown has really visually has improved quite a bit over the last few years with the urban renewal and incentivizing business and building owners to give some of their facades, a facelift. It's become a lot nicer, but I think there's still a lot of room to share the Brookings identity and our culture and what we value and some of our history. We have a very rich history that a lot of people just aren't aware of, especially if you've never heard of Brookings and you're just driving through. It's just a town with a Fred Meyer, and a couple gas stations, and you can just keep on going to your destination. But through art, we could really tell people that, hey, there's some interesting aspects of this town that, we want to share and that we're proud of.
You bet.
There's a lot we have to offer. So we're hoping to communicate that through art.
Yeah, and I think that's perfect. Like I said, I've been here going on 7 years, and it just, there's so many, not capitalize, I think of the beauty. It's just so much beauty up here. Flora, fauna. Every time I have visitors, I just had a friend of mine, we used to work both for the railroad. He was up here a couple of weeks ago, and both we came from the Sacramento Valley, and I took him to Chetco Point, as a matter of fact, and he was enamored by that sculpture too. That was great. Oh gosh, Harris Beach. I live down by where the Smith River comes. There are just so many wonderful places, you know. And I do love all the artwork. I did before I came here. I just took a quick drive. We talked about murals a little bit, and I was trying to notice the murals. I think they're very colorful and enhance the community. And I only counted 3, and one of them was in Harbor. So I was kind of surprised that there aren't more here.
Yeah, I've traveled the coast when I was retired, and we stopped in all the little villages like here in going to gift shops and things. And a lot of them have, like, every flat surface has got a whale or has something on it. Is it Key West that has the person that does all the famous whale? We don't know.
I think you're talking about Whalen, maybe?
Yes. Yeah.
Down in like Orange County, Newport Beach.
Literally a reason to stop
Wyland.
is to
Wyland.
go out. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know, we have the real thing here, though. So, like, why paint it on a wall when you got, you know, just look to your left. You know?
Yeah, but because it rains a lot, and if you can look at that on the wall from the comfort of
Next
your car.
best thing, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I like murals, and I think, you know, if done well, they can, you know, really have, you know, a lasting, impactful effect. You know, there's a lot of beautiful murals recently painted in Crescent City.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think, you know, we have an opportunity, you know, to add to our collection of art, and murals are definitely going to be part of that at some point. I want to put an emphasis on sculptures because I think they are, you know, much more interactive, a little more dimensional, and, you know, it's really easy just to drive right by a mural and say, oh, there's a mural on the wall, and not really take it in.
You realize that Linda is here, right?
Linda, and I'm sure, well,
Who does paintings?
I'm sure she does
yeah,
amazing murals. And like I said, we'll have murals will be part of this. But I'm putting an emphasis on sculptures right now because I do think that's where we're going to be the most impactful.
There's been a rumor running around, Linda, that there were people working on the idea of having murals. So did that morph off of this, or do you know that is something like that in the works?
There are definitely people who are involved in conceptualizing some murals.
Oh, great.
I'm one of them, but we also have more too. I think that the idea for me came up when I put the pictures in here in the radio station and changed them out a couple of times and realized that could go out of the building and that could go into the community. And I went over to see Michelle Ramos-Buber at the Chamber of Commerce. And I said, you know, I'm doing some things over at the radio station, but there are wonderful opportunities in the whole community. We have a few murals to show that, but we need some more. We need some new ones.
Yes, definitely places we could put those.
People who could really do that. So she agreed with me. That was at least 6 months ago. So that was about a year last July. And when I heard of this coming on, I was interested in that it was a sculpture, but again, the murals could be added as well. And I could see that coming together. So I totally agree with that. I totally agree.
It seems like the murals will be a much less ambitious project. You wouldn't
a singular person doing it.
Yeah.
And then that gets people into, well, what else do we have room for?
Yeah.
And we have room for a lot, and we have wonderful people that can do that.
So, Linda, my wife was, my dear late wife was an artist also, and who did a lot of paintings and drawings. Do you also branch out to other? My wife also did mosaics. She got into mosaics towards the end of her career life. But, you know, other types of art rather than painting. And I'm not putting that down. I'm just saying most people that are artistic and creative have various places that they like to go.
They do. And I admire the mosaic murals that are in Crescent City. They're around the Crescent City gallery, the one gallery that's quite well known. And they are absolutely beautiful. They're simple, but they create this atmosphere of the seals, the
sea life. The sea life.
and just these beautiful, beautiful markers. The lighthouse down there is wonderful.
Right.
And so I think that we can branch out depending on where the artists lead us. The
There
artists.
you go. Right.
Will follow.
Right.
Yeah.
And wherever they inspire us, that's for sure.
Exactly.
I want to remind everybody out there listening, you can text in questions or comments here at 541-661-4098. And Ron, I wanted to ask you, I know your focus right now was on the one location, and I understand that. It's something I can't do. I always go in 20 different directions. But do you have any others after that you're thinking about as far as the location, or is that just take care of the one right now and then?
Yeah, I mean, every time I walk or drive through town, I'm always seeing where the next thing can go. But I'm trying to be disciplined in my focus.
Okay, I
for
got
this
you.
one thing,
Yeah.
and until it is the artist is selected and we're going down that path. At that point, I feel comfortable, working with the committee to find the next location and kind of start the whole process again.
Okay.
But until then, I'm trying to not get distracted. That's real easy for me to do, is to get distracted. So I'm really,
That's my life.
really trying to stay focused to make this one thing happen. And
Great.
then I feel like we can get some momentum.
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. And we were also talking about the indigenous people's history around here. Now, I know you said you're going to put out, and I get that, nationwide, like the person that did the one at Chetco Point. I didn't really realize I did later, but he's from Montana. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
But man, when you can appreciate the beauty to wherever, it works. Like I said, I think that sculpture definitely works for me.
Yeah.
And
I would think when you're putting this, I guess you wouldn't call it a bid, but putting out the information that you were looking for people, you would probably give a short description of the area and what it's known for. That could include the indigenous people, of course.
Right. I'm in the what's called a call to artists. It includes pictures of the particular location, so they know kind of the context of it. What's in the background and so on. There's an overall theme for all of the art that we're working on, be it a mural or a sculpture. And that is that it should all fall under this kind of umbrella of the gateway to the Pacific Northwest. There is so much beauty here and throughout the Pacific Northwest, but we're essentially like a gateway to the Pacific Northwest. And so when we selected this first location and created set of objectives, that's what's communicated to the artist. And so some of the things that we're talking about in this call to artists is, firstly, I'm trying to convey a feeling that I had when I was driving up here, before we moved full time. And I would drive from Southern California straight through with my wife. We would take turns driving, and it was a 13-hour drive, and it was just
Been there, did that.
leave at dark 30 and always hit traffic in L.A. no matter what, and make up for it. And anyways, when we would come over the Chetco, I would just feel this warmth over my whole body, and we made it. And Brookings, I love it here, and I'm so glad we did, and everything is it was just a really nice feeling. So what I'm conveying is this, kind of creating a inviting and warm impression upon visitors and residents when they're viewing the artwork. And we want also to celebrate the rich cultural heritage that we have and our history of this whole region. And it's important to us that for this piece, one of the objectives is to have some level of Native American symbolism to honor the local indigenous heritage. That's part of the objective for this first place, because it's part of who we are as a town. There is a rich Native American history here that we want to integrate into this piece for that reason.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking of ideas that you incorporating from the history up to now. And you probably don't want to hear any of my ideas, but
I would love to hear
I'm
your
sure
ideas.
all ideas,
Yeah.
even yours, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Except the Bigfoot, not the Bigfoot idea. That
Okay,
the Bigfoot's been done.
You just lost.
I didn't want to steal your thunder, but
You have just lost my vote. We do have a Bigfoot and a pterodactyl on one of our murals. So. Not sure what the pterodactyl's doing there, but
And Ron, back to the indigenous folks, people, have you already contacted some groups, some people of artists from some of the tribes that are up here?
yeah, we're still waiting until we get the grant responses and have more of a sense of what kind of funding, and then we want to reach out to the Native American community. As a partnership, and want to make sure that we're doing something authentic.
You bet.
And, not kind of like, whitewashing or trivializing the history, being very respectful and not so arrogant to think, well, we can do this by just, throwing some Native American patterns in there and we're covered. We really want to have that involvement.
That's
so
pretty important, hugely important.
Yeah, we're fortunate that our mayor is part of the Tuolumne Nation, and so he will be our kind of point man for that discussion.
Great,
and as well as other tribes.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
And we have a few other people that we've had on the show connected with various tribes up here, and maybe in the future we'll try to get them. We could all maybe come on together. We'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah,
as far as this goes. And you've already got some ideas of kind of what you want for a sculpture.
Well, as we've talked about it and interacted with other people, we've kind of evolved into some ideas. But what we don't want to do is, it's kind of a tricky balance of giving some direction to the artist without telling them what we want exactly, because we don't want to squelch the their creative process or their creativity. So as part of the call to artists, we will give some kind of inspirational imagery.
Okay.
That imagery is some Native American kind of patterns, a little bit of the Lucy Dick sculpture imagery from Harbor, but also some female kind of abstract Native American pieces. Across the nation, some different imagery will be provided, but we don't want to be real specific.
Okay.
So we'll see what we get back from the artists.
And I mean this in all positivity, being married to an artist for many years. They're on a little different plane or level, and at times when I would interrupt my wife's creativity, it caused a little bit of a dust up. But then I finally realized when she was in a certain location, the door was shut, and I pop in there telling her, "Hey, this is going to be on TV tonight." That wasn't a good thing,
right?
Because that interrupted a big creative flow.
Yeah.
And I get it. I do get it.
My ex-wife wouldn't call herself an artist, I don't think, but she has the eye for beauty and structures and things. And we would go out on some of the boardwalks, like in Florida and things. I love wildlife, and especially love the swamps and the reptiles and amphibians. And I'd have like $2,000 worth of camera equipment on my shoulder, and she had a cell phone. And because she had an eye, she came back with better pictures with the cell phone.
Yeah. And it's such a benefit. This whole thing, to me, benefits the community, the businesses, the people, and like you said, and Linda, it kind of gives Brookings area its identity, if you will, depending, of course, on the sculpture.
Right.
Or
that's
the
really
piece.
our mission. The whole mission of this committee, this collaboration with the city council, is to strengthen the cultural, social, economic vitality of our town.
Yeah.
Really projecting a unique Brookings identity. our place in history. And, we're going to do that by just starting to build this ever-expanding collection of public art. And that's going to be owned by the city. And, we have this kind of other longer-term goal is if we can get momentum behind this effort and start getting some pieces in place and, maybe about like, say, 6 pieces throughout our little town, then we're also going to look at rotating like consignment art. And that's a whole nother, exciting opportunity if we can create these spots in town that could have artists put their work in place for some period of time, let's say 12 months, 18 months, with an opportunity for people to purchase and rotate it out. And that's something that can be very economical as well and create more opportunity for local artists.
That's
and
wonderful.
give us, even more artwork.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
And what's also great, this is not just a short-term thing. The sculpture gets done at the corner of North Bank. No, it's an ongoing and continuing process to just keep more artists thriving and either coming here or selling their art. And that's just a great.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of stories to tell, and there's a lot of different. Even though we're a small community, we're a diverse community, and there's a lot of people here that appreciate different aspects of who Brookings is or what Brookings has to offer. And so there can be a lot of different objectives in different locations, be it promoting the fishing industry or speaking about the redwood grove that we have, speaking about our beautiful coastline, the flora and the fauna. There's just a lot here.
There's heck of a lot here.
Yeah.
It's interesting too. You said about the gateway
to the Pacific Northwest.
Pacific Northwest. Now, driving up and down a lot like I do when I go back to see family, I go down 101 and usually to Highway 20 and then cut across. And coming up 101, it's beautiful. That's where most of the redwoods are. But right when you get into Smith River, right on the border, and from here north, that's where you see a lot of it encompasses the ocean along with the forest.
Yeah.
Now, if you go way down below, I think it's when you're headed south and Leggett, where you cut across the Highway 1, and that goes along the California coast there too.
Yeah.
But no, from up here all the way on Highway 101, you're pretty much right on the ocean almost the whole way.
Yeah.
And that combination, if you will, of the Pacific, beautiful Pacific on that would be the
on the left.
west.
As you're going.
Thank you. I was having a directional problem on the west, and then the beautiful forest and trees and mountains on the right. It's magical stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a magical area, and I think the art just enhances that public art.
We do have a text. This person wants to know if there's ever been any thought or the idea of having like a permanent art center, art garden. The park would be a good place for something like that, and probably lots of places.
Yeah, the Manly has a beginnings of that. They have a small amount that the city allows them to have, and then they have a view to trees, more art. They can move into that for special occasions that they have had in the past and probably will have again. But I think that there are areas that could be even more highly defined as art areas that would have nature as well as man's contribution to that. And I think that that's a really wonderful idea to be.
Yeah.
So what is this area that Manly has? You talk about something outside the gallery itself.
Yeah, they have the beautiful area outside the gallery, and then they have a grassy area that's designed to put chairs on, and there's seats above it on the patio itself. So I think that could be integrated very easily, and I think the city owns that property, but may be inclined to deal with the Manly in terms of sharing the responsibility for that.
That whole area where they have the art shows would be wonderful.
It would be beautiful. Yeah.
Is that hill still there with the railroad
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay, I haven't
yeah.
been there in a while.
That's as
Yeah.
a railroader, I love that little spot.
yeah.
It's great.
It is. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And the kids look great there, too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, the botanical gardens.
Yes.
You know,
Just went through there yesterday.
oh yeah,
Kids.
it's amazing. And you know, Sharon Johnson, as you know, the president of the botanical gardens, as she's had informed me that there's a great deal of effort around putting sculptures within the botanical gardens, and
That would add a lot to it. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, so there's a lot of effort there. They're also kind of doing a you know, separate program on that and trying to, you know, raise some funds. And they have a vision of you know, incorporating sculpture into that and making it more of a sculpture garden. And this piece being right on the Botanical Gardens grounds,
Right.
you know, even though it's closer to the 101, I think would be, you know, kind of a centerpiece of that.
That would be very nice.
You know.
There are also businesses that are interested in having murals on the side of their buildings. And so they've been talking to Marilyn as the Chamber of Commerce head, but they are very, very involved.
That is
in what we're
wonderful.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah, going back to the murals a little bit. Yeah, I was wondering
Yeah.
about that because obviously the business has to want that or prove that. And as I'm driving around, there are some businesses that, yeah, there's nice flat block sides that you would be easy. But what about, but I've seen murals on some pretty corrugated
obscure.
surfaces that I can't believe they can do it that way. But
Yeah.
the artists know what they're doing and know
Yeah.
how to do that.
Yeah. And
That's
that would
pretty
be-
amazing stuff.
More of that would be lovely.
Yeah, I often drive by on a railroad. The back of Cascade has, you know, giant,
Huge.
you know, cinder block wall
Right.
that's just a blank canvas.
I could put my stick figures up there. So like
That would be an improvement.
Oh, golly, man.
Yeah, lots of opportunity around.
You
that.
bet. And Linda, at the Manly Arts Center also, don't they have people can come in, or maybe you mentioned this already and I missed it, I'm sorry, but anybody come in and get like training on how to paint or how to draw.
Oh, yeah.
And they have people there to help them. You
And
know.
ceramics. And,
Yeah. They,
Oh,
they
there's another one.
definitely do. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely do.
And, you know, art, well, mosaics or drawings or paintings or sculptures, and along with what you were talking about, these beautiful gardens, people can create art with plants, with their, you know, the plants. I think that's a lovely thing, too.
Absolutely.
Got to have an eye and a green thumb, which I don't have.
There are people in this community who put a great deal of effort and money and training or whatever into their yards to make them absolute showplaces.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of benefit, you know, to public art. It could really bring people together, you know, and, you know, whatever your background is, you know, financially or politically, or, you know, it could really bring people together.
It can. And that is a great thing, especially in the little harder times these days. But still, I think art can go across those lines.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
In fact,
so.
in fact, I know it can.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, and there's, you know, I mentioned Stacy Gunderson with the Oregon Coast Visitors Association. She was key in putting together an art map, kind of interactive map, and you can bring it up and see all the different murals and sculptures all the way up and down the Oregon coast. And you know, not a lot going on in Brookings. It has, you know, just a few little stars on her map. But a lot of towns have a lot going on, and, you know, it would be just fantastic if at some point we can get to a place where you can bring up that map and have a little art walk along with the second Saturday art walk in town through all the galleries. Have a art walk of, you know, checking out all the murals and sculptures and everything else, you know, around town.
Boy, I mean, that would bring a lot of artists from outside the area in.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, along those kind of lines, they start in the harbor, not too far from now. They always display art from age groups. Have you been over there walking through the port? And that's a lovely little walk. It's nice and peaceful with the boats, but they have the artwork all along the fence there from the
Oh,
age
yeah. Most of the year.
art walk.
Yeah.
Duh, Rick.
Yeah.
I mean,
May
yeah,
through
art walk.
September. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. Yeah, however we can get the people involved and, doing more creative stuff, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, so I'll take that opportunity to repeat one more time the GoFundMe page. If you go
Please.
the GoFundMe webpage and just search for Brookings Public Art, any amount helps. If you want to chip in $5, $10 or more, that's fantastic.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I had the GoFundMe, but I didn't have the right. Okay, Brookings, Public
Art. Yeah.
All right.
How did you become an artist, Linda? How did one day you decide that you can do this?
I guess just doing it and getting approval from teachers, really.
So you actually went to art school?
Oh, the school I went to was hugely elective. I mean, there was all the basics taught, but there was electives like crazy. And this was in California, in the Bay Area. It was Curry School. And I went to them through 5th grade. And then I went to Catholic school, 6th through 7th, and then high school, or 6th through 8th, and then high school. But they were, I think, looking for artists. They were looking for young people to expose to the world of art and to use their art in various advertising or various shows and things. And I was always chosen, and I had no idea I would be chosen. I had no idea why I was chosen, but it was wonderful. It was exciting, and I just bloomed, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And it never stopped from then.
No, it doesn't.
From then on.
No.
Go ahead.
I wonder if that school you went to still has the interest in art that it had when you were going there.
I think that it does, but I don't know for sure. I know there's a lot of talk now of computers, and computers are the wave of the future. They are very artistic in their own way. They are very exciting in their own way, but they don't take the place, I don't think, of the regular art as well.
Absolutely not.
It would be good in both.
I don't know if any of you are into photography, but some of the latest things they have in Photoshop is just incredible. I happened to look up Photoshop a couple of months ago and to look at some of the new stuff. And I said, I might as well just throw my camera away. I don't even need it anymore. I can do that. I can just say what I want.
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, photography, again, it's another form of art to me.
Oh, yeah.
We happen to have a videographer here in our midst right now, Mr. Michael Gorse, who did a pretty good job in our studio of the background of Brookings. I mean, again, you have to be creative to come up with that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I really think so.
Yes.
And I have to go back to background a little bit. Now, Ron, you said you came from Southern California, and Linda, the Bay Area. And which part of the Bay Area down there?
San Mateo County.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Worked there a few times for the railroad. And it's really a pretty place. It's just too many people. That's probably one of the reasons you might have got out of there, too.
Well, that's one of the reasons I got out, but the reason we got in was that it was a place of great promise.
Oh,
and there wasn't even Hillsdale Mall yet when I came. I was about 3.
Okay.
And so it was very exciting there. And it still is, but it's overcrowded.
Well,
I love Brookings because it isn't.
Yeah. It's not Sacramento where I come from either. And Ron, which part of Southern California?
I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Grew up in Hollywood. Went to Hollywood High. That's my claim to fame.
Wow.
Mr. Michael Gorse is also the Southern California boy then. Okay.
All right. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also very crowded.
Well,
everywhere. It's just too crowded.
I know. Well, so far here, knock on wood, I mean, and yes, we do want and need the tourist traffic that we get. And hopefully the art will increase that, but it'll also increase the enjoyment from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I went to L.A. a few years ago from Tucson. I had to have some medical work done. And I guess we weren't paying attention to time or something. We got back on the freeway, and we were literally stopped. And I mean, moving like 10 feet and then 10 feet. And there was no accident or anything. This was just the traffic. And I just couldn't believe that people live there on purpose.
Yeah, that's called Tuesday. I mean, it's just
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
regular day on the freeway.
I get mad here if I have to actually stop for a stop sign because there's a car coming.
Well, I think there should be mandatory visits to a big city when you live here. Your time is up. You got to go to L.A., spend a couple days, and then you come back and really appreciate.
And
You never complain again because I catch myself doing it a lot.
Yeah,
And
when the RVs are going up and down and you've got to wait at the stop sign for, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You're like, where did all these people come from? Well, okay,
I know.
you're not in L.A.
There's so much there to do and so much to see. So my ex-wife lived in L.A. for a long time, and when we would visit there, we wanted to go to this museum or that museum or this attraction or that, and everything was 45 minutes away. Mm-hmm. Nothing was
Yeah, it used to be 20. Now it's 45. That's right. Yeah, it's crowded. So, and it's getting more so.
Yeah. But still, it's all relative. I'll take this place.
Yeah, we're in paradise.
All the time.
We're in paradise.
So overall, maybe I covered this earlier, but overall, this community is pretty, art. How do I put this? Accepting of the art. And I came up with, I think, only, maybe this is enough, 3 organizations here or galleries. Manly Art Center, we talked about, the Semi-Aquatic Gallery, and the Brookings Art Council. And
There's more.
There's more.
There's definitely more.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the second Saturday Art Walk, you'll see there are many stops. We have many galleries in town. I don't know if, Linda, you might be more familiar than I forget the names because I haven't gone on this Saturday Art Walk lately.
But we've got Brian Scott.
Brian Scott, yeah. That's a
Brian
big one.
Scott Gallery.
Yeah, real convenient and really busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's other little shops that, they might be a bookstore, but they also have art. And there's, even like at the framing place, I forgot the Wright's
Wright's Framing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little gallery in there.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
I've been
Not so little. It's actually
No. And I just got a shirt printed up, and there's a gentleman in the back that I had I'm a fan of a lot of our shows here, but Shirley Hyatt, who does the Stardust show, introduced me to a couple of old singers. I kind of forgot it, Cab Calloway and then the Boswell sisters. Anyway, this guy put a picture of Cab Calloway on a T-shirt. I've been in there many times. That's a nice, and they also have taken photographs off my phone, and then I've had them do pictures and stuff. Yeah, Wright's Gallery. Hello. See?
Forecastle Books is doing it too.
Been in there,
And
yes.
they did last summer. You did your thing. They judged it. They gave awards for the top 3 things, and then the person who got the top of the awards then got to have their own show within 2 months, and it was up for 2 months. So it was a real promotion for the individual.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Compass Rose Restaurant is another place that has a lot of artwork in it.
Great little place.
It is.
Just in talking about the different galleries and how, we do have definitely an artistic, aspect of our town. We have a whole nother kind of different artistic medium is film. And I just wanted to kind of,
coming up.
plug the film festival.
Wild Rivers Film Festival.
Yeah. Just a fantastic job the people that are part of that do and what they do for this town. And for those people that might be listening that haven't experienced the film festival, I would highly recommend it. It's just so
it's
cool.
really fun, yeah.
Yeah, we've got a little red carpet. You can walk down the red carpet and get your picture taken, and just a lot of cool films and a lot of local. And there's an aspect of it that's promoting, the kids learning about the industry and learning that type of artwork, film. And I'm very proud to have that in our town.
You bet. We actually did a show here a couple of weeks ago about that because they're doing the Elmo Williams, who's quite the celebrity, if you will. Boy, and speaking of art, I consider I've been up there a few times. Help me out.
The Capella?
The Capella. Thank you. I don't know why I forget that. I'm up there all the time. But anyway, that in itself is a piece of art to me.
Absolutely.
And boy, when you go in there and get that beautiful vista that you can look out on. And art can be everywhere. I happened to write down, I worked for a bricklayer many, many years ago as a kid. just out of the military. And I considered him an artist, especially when he was big on specializing in doing natural stone fireplaces. Oh my gosh. It was like he would work on those and place a certain rock at a certain. To me, he was an artist, and I've seen carpenters that kind of can do the same thing. They get so into their work that it looks like a piece of art to me.
I've built a couple of houses just kind of from my own knowledge and I guess YouTube videos. Every now and then I would get an opportunity to work with a carpenter, somebody who was a carpenter.
Yeah,
Not somebody who nailed boards together.
well,
and they
like
were
a finished carpenter.
they can whip a wall together in no time and everything fits just right. And
Right.
that's the type of art for sure.
It is.
Well,
It is.
I was just trying to search through my phone because I think today is Elmo Williams Day.
Yes, it is.
You know what?
Yeah.
You're right. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So since we're going to mention the man, we should probably mention
Hello.
this is his day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had that. Here we go again. I had it on my calendar at home, but did I look at it this morning? No.
Yeah. Well, we
You focus on this show. I
Yeah, my wife and I talked about it, and you got priority today. We're here for the radio show.
I got a phone call last night inviting me to go to the movie, but
Yeah,
Oh wow.
like I said, that's priorities.
yeah. Well, glad you're here.
And we're glad you all are here.
thank you.
And we are, unfortunately, it looks like we're winding down. So going to have to wrap stuff up here in the next 3 minutes. But yeah, all this is good news. I think it's great for our community, our people. Yeah, it's just a great thing.
Let me just say thanks again to the city council.
Please.
Is very supportive and really have been pushing this and supporting the whole team here, and especially want to thank our city manager, also Tim Rundle, and our grants writer, Wendy Giordano.
Okay.
Awesome having her help, and so without them, without the city council's support, it just couldn't happen. So.
And how long ago did you approach the city council with?
It was
with these
April of last year was when I
Okay.
first talked to them about it, and
All right.
so yeah, it's just been really fantastic support ever since then.
Well, and then again, how inspiring to go in there and then feel that support right away, rather than getting turned away.
I'll just spend 10 more seconds
Go for
and
it.
say that I've gone to a lot of city council meetings because I always learn something new. My wife and I do that as we try not to miss one. Always learn something new about what's going on in town. And two, I could say emphatically that if there's an issue that you want to bring to the city council, they're very receptive, and so if there's a way to
Great news.
if there's something you see that needs to be addressed, to improve our town, they have open ears. So it's great to have their support.
Okay.
I haven't been to a council meeting since we had the big shakeup a year or so ago. and,
Yeah. So the new administration,
that's
is fantastic.
very, very refreshing to hear.
Well, we're down to about a minute. I do want to thank both Ron Schnearson and Linda Evans again. And you can come down to the KCIW studios here or go to kciw.org. But if you come to our studios, you can, in our conference room, we do display Linda's beautiful artwork is there for viewing and purchasing. So please come on down. And what do you think, Ray? We're about ready to...
It looks
Wind
like
up
we're
the show.
down to seconds here. So maybe we
Thanks
can-
for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray.
We enjoyed it.
And I'm really just happy to see this, the idea of doing something.
You
like
bet.
that.
Thank you for your time.
And y'all are listening to KCIW LP 100.7 FM, beautiful, artistic Brookings, Oregon.